Good morning. I'm higher vibrations and so are you. And here are the Ascension Symptoms for November 11th, 2021. Stick around for the end. There's always a message that needs to come through, and that's usually when it happens. Before I get into this, I do want to kind of quickly touch on what Ascension Symptoms really mean for us, because when we're new in our awakening process, it feels pretty scary, like our bodies are doing crazy things that we can't explain, and the way that we've been living up to now has been the solution is to take a pill or to stop doing something that's disharmonious to us. And not that those things aren't true any longer, it's simply that when it is in regard to Ascension Symptoms, that's not a solution that needs to occur in order to solve anything. It's just that let the experience happen. There are definitely things we can do. We can ground, go into nature, walk barefoot, increase your water intake, go into places of meditation more often or as much as you can, avoid disharmonious 3D-like energies and things like that. But for the most part, these are just things that we're going to ride out. And each symptom does mean something, but it means something different to each person. Whereas maybe, like, for instance, the common dizziness that occurs pretty much for everybody, it happens in different ways for each person. Some people are more constant in their dizzy experience, and others it comes and goes. And not only that, but it means something different to each person. A dizziness thing for me occasionally means, or often means, that I'm sensing something else around me occurring rather than something that's going on inside me. But the thing that's going on inside me is that I am getting to a point where I can sense things more potently, and as a result, it requires more effort to kind of like not experience others' experiences as they're occurring for them. So the Ascension Symptoms that I've really been experiencing lately have been really strange. It's a lot of the same things. I just got a comment that I haven't responded to yet, asking about night sweats. And yes, that is something that for me, is an Ascension Symptom. A lot of people have been reporting weird body temperature stuff. I dropped my temperature, my base temperature has dropped substantially over the course of a couple of years, really, but more noticeable the past year, where it's just expected that I'll be a few degrees or more cooler, and I am in a perfect place of, I'm not cold, However, I am also experiencing shifting body temperature experiences. I am having, I'm having the hot sweats, and I'm having the moments of chills and the cold, and I'm noticing more at night, and I always have. And not so much exactly night that I'm going to sleep, but that's when I'm at a place of more rest. I'm not as busy running around doing whatever, and it's easier to kind of experience my experience when I'm in a place of more mellowness, more you're more in tune. And in those times, I definitely notice these things, these shifting temperatures, the sweats. Something, the ear ringing is just not going to stop for anybody, I don't think. Like it's shifting and changing and occurring in different ways, but it's still just the ear ringing. It's still, and it changes octaves, and sometimes it's just in one ear, and sometimes it's different pitches in each ear, and it fluttering in the ear, popping of the sinuses, all the sinuses. Throat chakra activation stuff is becoming really common. Mouth and throat related discomforts are really pronounced, and they have been for a while. And that's the throat chakra. That's where we are to speak our truth, right? And for a long time we've not, for whatever reason, and as we come into this place where we're pulling away from this entanglement of disguise and get to start to be our true, authentic selves without much or any consequence. It's becoming more apparent while we watch our throat chakras activate in such a way. And these are symptoms that have nothing to do with illnesses or colds or anything like that. But in some cases, it will be with that. In some cases, there has been illness or even injury in those areas, and it's drawing attention to that. And it's just something I just can't not see patterns because they're everywhere. And that is a pattern that has established itself very well lately for everyone. So it's beautiful. It's an activation. All of this is. The diet changes and shifting stuff that's been occurring. One method that people sometimes use to ground is to eat. And when done in excess, anything good is no longer, like you can have something that is really great. And if you do it in excess, then it's no longer harmonious and balanced, and it's no longer healthy, including overindulging and eating. And I'm just saying that simply because, I can overdo things sometimes. And so that is something that people have been reporting that they're noticing that the inclination more to ground in that way. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's just disruptive in the mind and the experience of why am I doing that? Because we have been going through periods of weird fasting, like unplanned fasting. All of a sudden, your body's rejecting certain foods, or you just simply don't have an appetite, and that's okay. You're allowed to not eat for a day. Like, people fast all the time. Like, I don't really know exactly where that came from, but that false narrative of if you skip a day of eating, you're hurting yourself or something. And in some cases that can be true. So please do it wisely, but listen to your body. Your body knows. Your body's always known, and it's trying to tell you. And as we listen to our bodies more and more, it starts to become more and more apparent of what it's trying to tell us. Allow it to. Allow it to speak to you. If you have a craving for a certain thing, there's something in that food that your body needs at that time. If all of a sudden you don't want the things you're familiar with enjoying, your body's saying, that's not helping us. Let's try something better or different. I'm no longer a carnivore. In fact, I'm basically a vegan. And it's not a ethical choice. It's my body just said no. And I'm learning to listen to it. Some of the no's are when you have, illness, or you feel like you're going to puke, or if your body decides to expel the food or the things that you ate very quickly. In other cases, it's like as you begin to eat it, you almost feel nauseous with the consideration of it when you touch it with your skin, with your fingers. And I actually think that's why a lot of cultures don't use silverware and different implements to eat food rather than just using their fingers. When your body touches it, that's when it tells you if it wants it. And it'll let you know what a result can be from it. If it's a negative or a positive one, you will feel it somehow inside. And then the other thing that I've been experiencing that I found really fascinating, that is like this euphoric experience, but it also feels like strange as a shift in some way. It could be comparable to maybe the experience of being slightly intoxicated. It's very strange. It's a very strange experience, but I'm not made to be alarmed or concerned. It is simply something that I'm experiencing right now. Sensing things differently, certain psychic abilities turning on, knowing someone is going to call or text before they do has become something that people are reporting about a lot lately that they've never experienced before. It's cool. This is great, guys. We are in a world full of language barriers. Communicating in this format that I'm doing now is so limiting. There's so much information that's left out when we simply use our words. It cannot be conveyed accurately. And, though our vocabulary may have an expansive variety to choose from, there still aren't words that apply to most of our spiritual experiences. we are gaining vocabulary words as these experiences are beginning for us, which is beautiful. In the collective mind that we are, we're starting to learn how to convey our experience, but it is still limited. Allow it to be and enjoy your experience. Allow yourself to drink all the water that your body will let you. It's good. It will help you in this experience. Right now, we are at this beautiful turning point. Anyone who's listening to this message right now is on this team, is on this light family. We are all in this together, and we are participating. We are bringing the light to this planet, and we've been doing it for so many years that it's hard to shift and remember we don't need to do that anymore. That's not what we need to do. We don't have to work at that anymore, rather. That's autopilot. Right now it's time to work on ourselves. We have a lot of things that we've carried around for however many lifetimes, or maybe even just this one. That those things, those skeletons in our closet, quote unquote, are the things that keep us in the shadows. It keeps us in the night. And so as these things start to raise, they're not coming to torment you. Your history, these flashes of moments of experiences in your mind that maybe you don't recall experiencing. Those are things that need to be healed. And they're surfacing now so you can. It's a shaking out of the rug so we can use it again. And that's occurring for a lot of people in many different ways simultaneously right now. For shadow cannot stand before the light. And we are moving in to nothing but the light. We are getting to this place, this beautiful experience. And in order to do that, there needs to be the last step, or maybe the first step for you, in the dark night of the soul experience. It sounds scarier than it is. It really does. We've been taught to keep those things secret. Keep them secret. Keep them safe. But it doesn't need to be. In fact, it's causing you harm by keeping them hidden. You don't need to tell anybody else. You don't need to run around the world and discuss it. But to, as they come up, acknowledge their existence without judgment. You don't need to own that anymore. We don't need to analyze these things. We don't need to see why or how they fit any longer. Simply, oh yeah, you do exist. Thank you for your service in my life. But your service is done. And release. That's all we're being asked to do. And the more that I find myself analyzing or looking at this thing closely, judging it, I'm holding this thing in place. I am not allowing it to release or heal. And I'm not allowing myself to get into that harmonious place that I want to be in order to get to this next step, through this next level of experience. So don't be afraid. It's okay. There are a lot of beautiful resources on YouTube and different places all over the place about Dark Night of the Soul. The solution that I found for the Dark Night of the Soul is called shadow work. That's the vocabulary that we have applied to that. And that's simply looking at those things head on, rather than letting them feel like they're coming out of the sky and hitting you upside the head without warning. For me, that empowerment process not only made the experience more efficient, but it was complete in that way, if that makes any sense. If you're not experiencing this right now, that doesn't mean there's anything wrong. That's not where you're at this particular moment in your experience. You will get there too. Don't rush any of these things. They come to you and for you when it is time. All of these things that we have experienced have been set in motion so long ago. And they are continuing to be in motion. The same choices that we made, the series of choices that we made all at that time, are still unfolding. It's a new chapter every day. A new character appears, or disappears. New elements, new things, as we mature and grow into this next dimensional frequency. Thank you for all of your work. This has not been easy, but it is so beautiful. We are one. Just as the great grand organism of the Amazon rainforest, we beat with one heart. Our spirits are one. We are with and of God. And here we are, ready for this next step. Go with the flow. Float on the top of the river rather than fighting the current. You know what you're doing. Thank you for your service. I'm sending you so much love. I hope you're having a wonderful journey. Aho blessings.